Alright, so this video is gonna be about how I went insane basically. So basically, I went like kind of insane and attempted suicide when I was 21 years old. That was in 2015, so it's been a long time, and I haven't had any suicidal thoughts since. I've been a lot more, I guess you could say, grateful. I'm not sure. I just haven't ever thought about it since. Anyway, they took me to the cops showed up after my dad called, and they took me to a psych ward and diagnosed me with schizoaffective disorder. So I'm schizophrenic, but anyway, I take medications for it, and it pretty much just, like, the meds pretty much keep me from hearing voices. So I never really had, not auditory, but I never really had visual hallucinations, but I had auditory hallucinations. And before that, I was just like kind of generally paranoid. Nowadays, I'm not paranoid, and I don't have any sort of hallucinations. So, yeah. But anyway, I sort of went insane, but I sort of went insane that many years ago. It's almost been 10 years. It's been 8 years. Yeah. Sorry, I just took a drink of something. And I didn't swallow correctly. But yeah, leading up to that, I guess you could say that, leading up to that, I spent a lot of time alone. Like, I guess since I was like 20 until I was, 21, like for a good like year, 2 years or whatever, almost 2 years. Between 20 to 21, when I was 20 to 21, I basically just spent time alone. And I was pretty much a hikikomori for that period of time, or neat, or whatever you want to call it. I just lived with my mom and stayed in my room and laid on my bed. I was depressed. Sorry, my full diagnosis, the full diagnosis that I have is schizoaffective disorder, depressive type. And if you want to know what, like the difference between that and schizophrenia is, I don't know, it doesn't really affect me. Like it's not full-blown schizophrenia. It's like I'm affected by the symptoms that a schizophrenic has, but I'm not technically a schizophrenic. I'm just sort of like halfway there, I guess. So, like I said, I've never had visual hallucinations. The only hallucinations I've ever had, and this was a while ago before I got on meds, before I started taking meds, were auditory hallucinations where I would just hear voices from like a far distance away. Like almost like being in a forest and hearing shouting. Like that's pretty much what it was like. And screaming and stuff like that. It's just horrific things in your mind. Anyway. I guess, yeah, that's the story of how I went insane. Basically, just spent too much time alone, despaired. I didn't believe in God at the time. That's another major thing. Like, I started believing in God again, and some people have speculated that the voices I heard were just demons or hell or something like that, but I don't know. Could have been. They were pretty horrific, but they weren't like, I don't know. They didn't really incapacitate me. I don't know. But anyway, I attempted suicide not while hearing voices, but just out of despair. Like I said, I think I said this already, but the other part of the diagnosis is depression, depressive type or whatever. Depression goes along with it. So, yeah. And the main reason I got depressed in my early 20s was because I really liked this girl, and we broke up, or we basically broke up, or we didn't really date to begin with, but we sort of did. And it was a girl who I'd known since, like, for my whole life, and she just didn't love me, and it was just, like, very brutal for me. Anyway, that made me really depressed, so I spent time alone, and then I just sort of went insane, and then despaired, and then attempted suicide in 2015. And I was also lifting, like, heavy weights at the time, like, so I was under a lot of, like, strain from that, which just, I don't know. That coupled with, like, the fact that I was getting more attention from women because of lifting weights made me even more depressed, just because I knew, like, it was just superficial, and I wanted it to be, I don't know, I just wanted there to be more between whoever I dated and myself besides superficial things like that. But I don't know. When you think about it, you gotta be at least somewhat attractive to attract somebody, so I guess it makes sense anyway. I'm kind of rambling, sorry. Yeah, but I don't blame going insane on lifting. Like, I lift nowadays. Like, I just started lifting again recently. And I was lifting before, like, months ago. But anyway, lifting doesn't drive you insane necessarily. It just with that strain on my body and realizing that women really only like you for your looks or whatever. That coupled with, like, not the loss of not the loss of the girl who I liked, but, like, I didn't, like, lose her technically, I guess. Like, she didn't die or anything, like, which is good. But I sort of lost her in a way, you know, like my whole life I was, like, with this girl, and, like, ever since, like, I was young, and she just suddenly didn't like me. And this was around the time of, like, social media, and around the time of, like, social media coming up into popularity. And anyway, I don't blame it totally on social media, but she basically just went to college and got fucked by a bunch of guys and, like, just forgot about me. And now I have no idea what's happening with her. But she was the main reason why I got depressed. Not the reason. I mean, I don't know. I guess she was kind of the reason I attempted suicide too. I didn't really think about it while I was attempting suicide. I was just kind of sad or whatever. I hadn't seen her in years, so I didn't really think about her. But when I think back on it, that's one of the main reasons. But just realizing how superficial women became after social media became a thing. That definitely might be the main reason why I attempted suicide in 2015. Anyway, that's one of the main reasons for my insanity. Nowadays I'm not really insane just because I take meds, and I don't know, I just I'm still sort of chasing that superficial look on the outside or whatever, which I look pretty good when I'm not overweight. I got really overweight recently. Like, I've been overweight for like 2 years, but I gained like a good 20 pounds recently. And I'm basically just trying to lose weight and look good and keep my sanity. Don't worry, I won't. Don't worry, I'm way past ever attempting suicide again. I believe in God now, so I don't know. I have a lot of hope, and I don't think everything's superficial. So it's just hard to want to attempt suicide when you know there's a creator who cares about you and that you'll go to heaven one day. And that being said, there's also a hell, and if you attempt suicide, your chances of going to hell probably go up. Like I'm not gonna say that suicide is selfish necessarily. I think it just depends on the case or whatever, but I don't know, if you selfishly commit suicide, I imagine that you'd end up in hell. And if you attempt suicide out of like desperation, I don't know, maybe God would pity you, but it's kind of a big risk. I don't know, I'd like to go to heaven when I die, so I won't do it again. Anyway, my insanity is just I don't know. If you would have talked to me in real life, you wouldn't probably guess that I had this disorder. And it's not necessarily just insanity all the time. Like I said, I take meds for it, and that keeps me pretty much just stable. But yeah, not a lot of people start to hear voices that aren't real, or that are from a different dimension, or whatever the case may be for hearing voices. It's hard to say, but those are things I sometimes think about, but usually I just go with they're not like real. But I haven't heard voices for years though, so like usually I would go with that they weren't real, and then I would just take my medication and they would go away. So yeah, that's kind of the main reason. That's probably the main reason why I got fat recently, just because I started taking meds, like new meds, and I don't know, they make you kind of lazy, or they can make you kind of lazy, blaming it on the meds, but they don't necessarily make you fat. They just sort of make it hard to get motivated sometimes. Like, it fucks with your dopamine receptors, making you like less like happy or whatever, but at the same time keeping your insanity down or whatever. It's not, I don't know, maybe this is just a cope, but it's not really a way just to control you. Like, I don't know, the meds I take actually keep the voices I hear, or I heard in 2015 and before then, from coming back. So yeah, like I said, I don't hear voices anymore. That's pretty fortunate, but yeah. What was I gonna say? They say as you get older, gets schizoaffective disorder gets easier to handle, and that you're not as affected by it as you get older or whatever. So, yeah. Anyway, that's kind of the story of my insanity. Sorry if I didn't cover anything, but yeah. Nowadays, I'm just kind of working on, like, I live in a group home right now with other people with disorders, but everybody's pretty. No, I wouldn't call them like normal, but they're not like that abnormal. Like, I don't know. There's just kind of general population, sort of just run of the mill people, I guess. That's what they seem like, at least. And yeah, whatever disorders they have, I don't necessarily know what they are, but yeah. Anyway, I'm just working on getting an apartment, which I have the money to saved up to do so. I'm just waiting on a spot to open up. Waiting on a place to open up with an apartment. And yeah, I'm just lifting weights and trying to improve my looks. And then I'll probably look for a job and get a job. Yeah. That's about where I'm at right now, and that's the story of my own insanity. All right. Sorry if I didn't go into enough detail. See ya.